So we'll get Cowherd on and we'll watch that. All right, that is our next segment. So we'll do that real quick. Colin Cowherd had a really weird take that, Cole, I want you to watch, and then we will talk about it. We'll do the wild card, and we'll get out of here. Oh, you know what we can talk about real quick, since we probably have a little bit more time without Tom, is my boy going back in studio with the ACC Network. We'll talk about that at the end.
There we go.
But Cowherd's take, which I thought was weird, and then we'll talk about it.
Think about this. The best offensive player in college football is a Buckeye. The best defensive player, Caleb Downs, is a Buckeye. Their recruiting, once again, was through the roof. Their NIL money is through the roof. And Penn State was picked to win the Big Ten. I think Penn State's going to face Texas in the national championship. And I think this is one of those things, and it's going to be hard to stomach for a lot of people. The Big Ten is officially better than the SEC. It's not just that Ohio State won the Natty last year. It's that they humiliated Tennessee and dominated Texas. Texas scored 14 points. They'd scored over 14 points in 32 straight games in the SEC. They scored 14 points. The year before, Alabama played Michigan. When Michigan won the Natty, Alabama couldn't move the ball. They had barely had 100 yards passing. It looks a lot like it used to 8 years ago when a Georgia or an Bama would face a Big Ten team. And the Big Ten teams couldn't really generate consistent offense. The defenses, the athletes were just too good. Go look at Tennessee against Ohio State's defense. Go look at Texas against Ohio State's defense. Go look at Bama the year before against Michigan's defense. So, and I think there's a reason for it, and I never thought this was possible. But it should be noted, every national champion, every single one in the college football era, college football playoff era, every one has been ranked inside of the preseason top 6. And of the 6 preseason teams, highest ranked, 3 are Big Ten teams. So 3 of the top 6 ranked teams, and that tells you who's going to win the Natty. In 10 of 11 national championships, 10 of the last 11, the teams in the top 5, one of them has won the Natty. So the Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon are all in the top 6 this year. And that's where the national champions come from. So last year, Ohio State lost to 2 Big Ten teams. They rolled 2 SEC teams. It's the eye test. I said this 3 years ago. Something's changing, and what's changing is money. Big Ten schools are bigger. They have more graduates. It's easier to raise money for NIL. You add in Phil Knight and the Nike money. You add in USC and the LA economy money. The Big Ten cities, LA, New York with Rutgers, Chicago Northwestern, Minneapolis, DC, Seattle. That's the Big Ten money is Hollywood, tech, and financial centers. It's a lot of car dealerships in the SEC. And car dealerships are running on razor-thin margins. So right now, the top spenders in college football, according to the On3 poll, 4 of the top 7 are Big Ten, and that's not changing. That is not changing.
So an interesting take with this. Let me flip this back over to the right one. An interesting take here. First of all, when he said 10 of the last 11, you know who the 12th team was Florida State, because they started the year at number 12.
Yeah, you got to find a way to throw Florida State.
Yeah, always got to find a way to put them in and remind myself of the better days. But yeah, they started 12th. I think what's interesting about his take is, listen, I would love nothing more than a non-SEC team to win the national title, as you well know, right? I can get more jokes off that way. It's great, to slam on them. We've had 1 year of this 12-team playoff in which we just saw the number 8 seeded team get in and roll. Objectively, the SEC had a much tougher path. They also lost a starter quarterback. I don't know that this is. I don't know that we have enough to base it on to say like, oh, well, with this new 12-team playoff and then eventually a 16 or 14, whatever, that the Big Ten is just going to run things forever. Does the Big Ten have a great chance to win it all this year? Absolutely. Does that probably lay on Ohio State's shoulders? I mean, probably, unless Penn State finally puts it together, which is maybe their best chance ever. The idea that, though, money is different is probably the most interesting part of this. Acting like the SEC only has money because of car dealerships. I mean, first of all, that ignores Texas, who is probably doing things that no one else in the country can do from a money perspective right now in recruiting, both the portal and in school ranks. But the idea that that's the only means of money from the SEC. Now, by and large, I'll say, yeah, I think Notre Dame and Ohio State, like if in Michigan, yeah, they can probably pull more than an SEC program does. I think what he ignores is what you've talked about, right? I hate to give the SEC a lot of credit because that's not my shtick on this show, but the SEC absolutely beats themselves to death through the season. And then by the time we get to the playoffs, they're worn out. You've lost a quarterback. You've lost these guys. You run into a red hot Ohio State team that, has gelled at the right time, but we can argue, how deserving they would have been in any other format. So I don't know. Thoughts on Cowherd's take? I would love nothing more than the SEC to not win the title this year. I think I know he works for Fox, but this is a little biased, homerish to me.
I stopped listening when he said that Texas was dismantled by Ohio State, because that clearly shows you didn't watch the football game. And if you don't want to watch the football game, then don't talk about the football game. Don't talk about a sport that you know nothing about when you refuse to go ahead and actually sit down and watch the matchups in itself. Like, honestly, you tried to sell us last year on USC being right back in the title game. Spoil it. We got to say this intentionally. As you're sitting inside of an LA Coliseum looking thing, the big sphere looking whatever you call it out in LA, thinking that people are going to have to owe Lincoln Riley an apology. No, we didn't. We didn't owe him an apology because if he found a way to crap the bed as he always does, just like you constantly find a way for me to pick holes into your narrative about college football. You don't care about college football. You care about ratings. You made it abundantly clear that the only thing that you care about is ratings when it comes to this sport. Because if you remember that game, Texas was on the 2-yard line and could have punched. If they would have, that would have been a tied matchup against Ohio State, and they would have scored 21 points, would have sent that game into overtime, and we would have talked about this completely different. If Michigan was so great over Alabama in 2023, that game wouldn't have had to gone to overtime. It just would have ended in the regulation. And keep in mind, Cowherd loves to go ahead and pull this narrative out. Michigan had to come back against Alabama in that game. Alabama in the fourth quarter was leading and nearly punched their ticket to another national championship. Nick Saban, and he would have gone out with the swan song. But you don't want to throw that narrative in. No, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep out all of the uninformed people, the casuals of college football, to make sure that you sound smarter than everybody else out there. Yeah, certainly Chicago and New York City and Minneapolis have money that they absolutely could throw into their college football programs. You also fail to mention those are public sports towns. Those are pro sport team towns. Chicago doesn't care at all about Northwestern. Never have when they were in the Big Ten before the Pac-12 decided to disband. New York has never cared about Rutgers football. Minneapolis has never cared about Minnesota football. And your own town of Los Angeles cares about one team in their city, a team that they have spent ridiculous amounts of money to go ahead and try to bring back to relevancy. And it doesn't matter if they have Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian or Clay Helton or Lincoln Riley. They've yet to be able to duplicate the success that they found under Carroll. So we talk about you wanting to say that the Big Ten is making the difference. Yeah, they can spend the money if they want to, but guess what? Those programs don't want to. Notre Dame wants to, Oregon wants to, Ohio State wants to, Michigan wants to, and you could probably throw Penn State in that conversation. You want to know who wants to spend money? Texas Tech wants to spend money. You want to know who else wants to spend money? Florida wants to spend money. You know who else wants to spend money? Texas A&M, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss for that matter, to spend money. And they do a good job of targeting the right type of talent in the middle of the order and developing said talent. So sure, we can say that the Big Ten has an opportunity to win a national title this year, and it's not going to be shocking. But please, Cowherd, do me a favor if you go ahead and talk smack about the changing of the tides. Remember that it took over a decade for the SEC to lose its dominance? How about have a decade of dominance for the Big Ten before we start to say this is the end of an era? An era actually takes a little bit of time to form. It's why I give a little bit more respect to those rosters that have proven time and time again they can be sustainable.
Yeah, again, I'd love nothing more for him to be right. I just think it's a little premature, man. Like, I don't even mind saying that I think the Big Ten's best is probably in a better position right now to win championships because of the schedule that they play. They're like, I could ask you right now, who's winning the SEC? I mean, we all think probably Texas, but like there's like 6 teams that could win that thing, right? Like it's not even, and that's maybe even be generous. You could maybe even argue for a couple more. I think that I don't know, man. You're right, though. Like, it is clickbait. It is hot takes. That's what he's doing.
No, it shows that you don't watch the game. It shows that you don't care about the sport. It shows that you're only focusing on the ratings. And again, the thing that makes college football so beautiful and completely different than the NFL, and I want to keep it this way forever, is that college football fans are not idiots. They want to see their teams actually provide results on the field. They want the pageantry. They want the ambiance on a Saturday afternoon. And they want to show the world why this sport is built differently. You go to Willie B on a Saturday night against Old Dominion. It's as ravenous as an atmosphere as when LSU comes to town on an 11 a.m. kick. In the cities of the pros, if the pro teams don't have a good fan base, like the Los Angeles Chargers or like the Houston Texans at times, they're overrun by the opposing team. It's just the bottom line. You care about the ratings and you care about the product that is going to bring you the most recognition. You don't care about the actual sport and you don't care about the progress of the sport. So sorry, Cowherd. If you want to go ahead and have me on, we can have a discussion, but I'm going to whoop your ass when it comes to college football. I do every single time that you bring up your name to begin with.
Over under, USC is the 5th most important team in LA.
I
mean, it's a Lakers town. 1,
yeah.
2. Are both NFL teams ahead?
No. The question that I would have is, are the Clippers ahead at this point? That's where I would go when it comes to the next. I think the Chargers are at the bottom. The Angels are at the bottom. Hockey out there. The Ducks at one point were probably really prominent. The Kings have won a Stanley Cup in the last 2 decades. So a little bit. I would say probably number 4, number 5 is USC.
Yeah.
I still would. The Dodgers, the Rams, and the Lakers absolutely are ahead of them. The next one is the Clippers. They're right there in that vicinity, I think.
Yeah.